Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Welcome aboard, everybody. By the way, this morning, the phones were so active after I got done with one of the pieces that and this is on me, I completely kept the screener for both Substack and the main screen closed. I sure didn't make that mistake this time again. So welcome aboard, AVQ. Numero uno again in the house from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard. How are you doing today? We also have Paul Fleming in the house. Numero dos from Powder Springs, Georgia. And we have Patrick Magner, Houston, Texas. How you doing, Patrick? Great hearing your wise commentary this morning. Yvette Avery Howard from Atlanta, Georgia. Yvette, you didn't give me an update as far as how your campaign is going. I'd love to hear that. Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas is in the house. We also have, para ver, I guess, don't have any other new ones in the chat. All right, welcome aboard to Substack. Remember, I lose the first few dozens in Substack. Shanti Khan, John A. Davis, Mary Adamski. Tell me where you're from, guys. Fem K, Robin Logan, Kim Farlow, Penny Stephens, Bob Reiger, Cheryl Bartell, Jane Maupin Yates. How you guys doing today? We're going to have a great show for you today. Let's see what Radnan is saying. He says, from The Guardian, how Trump's anti-immigration policies could collapse the U.S. food industry. Not hard to see that, man. The president is threatening to deport essential farm workers. Not threatening, he is deporting grocery clerks and food delivery drivers. But without them, shelves could go empty and prices could soar. Elizabeth Rodriguez, director of farm worker advocacy with National Farm Worker Ministry, a long-standing organization in South Texas, said farm workers in many states are thinking about leaving the country because they are facing more obstacles to work under the anti-immigrant administration. They're scared there are fewer opportunities and they're no longer prospering here. The fear will soon be in the harvest when the quantities of produce are depleted. The idea that Trump iced Gustavo only go after criminal is a proven lie, and it's one that's going to hurt our economy, our place on the world stage, and our ability to feed ourselves, not even to mention the morality of these crackdowns. I guess what they want them to do is go into and growing the automated products like corn, soybean. A lot of those are very automated, but the vegetables are not. The vegetables are not as automated as, corn and other staples that grow in a manner that makes automation easier. So I don't know what they're going to do. You're absolutely right about that. Paul Fleming says Nicole Wallace played a montage of all the things Trump has called a hoax over the years: Obama, global warming, Russia, impeachment, COVID, the suckers and losers, home, Eugene Carroll, and much more. What else have we got here? Lee the Bearcat says, it's Friday. Yes, it is. Berries have to be picked by hand, according to John A. Davis. I go and pick berries, and we have a little farm land up north. Not we, this company has a little farmland, and we go there and you pick a little bit of strawberries and a little bit of blackberries, etc. You're right. I don't see how you mechanize that easily and maintain the integrity of the fruit. Got you, John Davis. Jennifer Hunter, welcome aboard. Kimi Nakata, welcome aboard. Silly Blue, welcome aboard. And Hazel. All right, Paul Fleming says the average consumer could pay 75% more for an Affordable Care Act marketplace. I just taped a piece on MSNBC that points out that it could cost up to twice as much and let me tell you exactly why, guys. And then Monday I'll play the piece. But what's happening is everybody got not everybody. If you made under a certain limit, you got, I think it's maybe like 300% of the poverty level for your family or something like that. You actually get support on the exchange. Now, I want folks to understand that the exchange isn't a place where you just go ahead and get a credit from the government. That's not how it works. What you are doing is getting your taxes back to pay that bill. In other words, Obamacare, the portion that is not the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, requires you to work. And it's based on how much taxes you pay, you get back to help offset your healthcare costs, your insurance costs. And a lot of that has not been replaced in this new bill, this big, beautiful bill. And guess what? Obamacare is used whether you are Republican, Democrat. It's not always called Obamacare. In Kentucky, it's called Connect, right? So people on Connect don't understand that, hey, guy, Connect is the Affordable Care Act, and your Senator McConnell cut it. So when you go next year to try to get your new price for your Connect Care, you're going to see it double in price. Thank you for bringing that up, Paul Fleming. Let's see what Lee Grant is in the house from Montgomery County. Let's see what else we get before we go to the video. Bridge MCP, how you doing, my beautiful Bridge from Binghamton, New York, and May Wood from Long Beach, California. Welcome aboard. Jacqueline Campisi, la profesora, our teacher, is in the house. Guys, you better behave yourselves. We have a teacher in the house. What else have we got here before I go to the video? Trisha Sharma says, they tried to stop people from recording this, but I got it. Okay, Trisha, is that real? Are you real, Trisha, or are you something that's trying to get? I tell you what, why don't you tell us what that video is about, Trisha, before anybody click on that? Tell us what that video is about. What did they try to stop us from listening to, Trisha? All right. Bree says the Justice Department unit charged with defending against legal challenges to secure Trump administration policies, such as restricting birthright citizenship and slashing funding to Harvard University, has lost nearly 2/3 of its staff, according to a list seen by Reuters. 69 of roughly 110 lawyers in the federal program branch have voluntarily left the unit since Donald Trump's election in November, or have announced plans to leave, according to the list compiled by former Justice Department lawyers and reviewed by Reuters. They are trying to destroy government so that the private sector has to pull in. They want to say government doesn't run, but this is all Project 2025, folks. Somebody had, I think it was you, Bri. If it were you, give me that link again. There's a link that I've got that shows you how much of Project 2025 has already been implemented. Welcome aboard, Anthony Lofranco. Yo, from Laguna Beach. How you doing, my dear brother? Do You Lie is in the house, and he says, what becomes of corn farmers if Coke goes to cane sugar? And cane sugar tastes better, but cane farmers in Louisiana rejoice. Go figure. I prefer Mexican Coke regardless. Yeah, cane sugar is a lot better than, what is it called? High fructose corn syrup. You're absolutely right about that. Do you lie? I'm from Panama. We drink the real sugar, man. Over here, I usually drink the diet stuff now, but you know how that goes. All right. Anyway, CP said they left because they did not want to do the dirty deeds. Exactly. Hey, Bridge, what about that link? Wasn't it you who gave me that link that has all the pieces to all the pieces of Project 2025 that has already been completed? Anyway, folks, I over the weekend I went to a few Democratic events. One where the governors that are running for Texas governors were present. We had the ag commissioner. We had a whole lot of the state, the people running for state office in Texas at that thing. Now, at this party that I went to on Saturday. Now, before that party, though, I went to a barbecue. It was a long Saturday. And I met up with John Cotter, who is the president of the Humble Area Democrats. And he kind of pulled me aside and he said, what are we going to do, man? The Texas legislature is about to do some redistricting. This has national implications for the redistricting that's occurring in Texas, and as well as what they want to do in Ohio, And of course, California spoke about, well, we'll redistrict too, but they're governed by a commission, which means they do things equitably, not here in Texas. They're trying to rig the system here in Texas. So I asked them, hey, will you do an interview and tell us your ideas on what should be done? So I spent some time this morning with him doing this afternoon, just before the program, doing the interview. And ironically, I had an interview scheduled to do as well, and I forgot about it. So as soon as I got off that interview, I jumped on the other one with one of our brothers. He told me it's going to be out on Sunday. So I will also post a link to that when it occurs. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to John Cotter. I really have a whole lot of respect for this brother and what he has to say. So let me pull it up. I didn't get a chance to cue it beforehand, but here we go with Brother John Cotter. Here we go. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. Today we are honored to have the president of the Humble Area Democrats. But I think introducing John Cotter as just the president of the Humble Area Democrat does a disservice for what he actually does. He is a great inspirer of folks to get things done, not only in Northeast Harris County, but he's an example that all of us should follow as ones who really want to make a change in our society and ones who complain about us needing to have a change. So, John Cotter, without further ado, welcome to Politics Done Right, and thank you so kind for having this talk with us today.
Well, thank you, Egberto. I really appreciate the invite. It's great to be here with you.
Well, yesterday I saw something that really touched me, and that was I saw a bit of fight that with Democrats pretty much saying, we're just going to not be scared. And it was symbolic, but it meant something. Cory Booker spoke to, after they attempted to bring Bovee in to, try to confirm Bovee, he went ahead and he had a long speech to tell them that they're really trying to push this nomination through, even though it shouldn't go through. They all got up and walked out. It was symbolic, but the American people saw that and said, wow, if they can do that, maybe we need to join in. Now, here in Texas, there's a lot happening. Why don't you tell me one of the things that you think is of utmost importance right now with what we're going through here in Texas, but that will have national implications?
I think one of the most important things that's coming up in the special session that was called by the governor of Texas is the mid-cycle redistricting. And they're specifically targeting 4 Democrat House seats and long-held coalition seats, majority minority type seats, and they're just targeting them specifically, and that can be have a huge effect on the balance of power for the House after the 26th election.
Now, one of the reasons that they're targeting is pretty much to dilute them in such a manner that they can actually extract a few more Republican seats that really won't reflect the balance between Democrats, Republicans in the state. Is that correct?
That's correct. Just like the 18th district, which is a vacant right now, and we're going to have a special election soon. That has long been held by a person of color, and they're going to try to dilute that vote and either bring in some Republicans into that district while they push some Democrats into some very safe Republican seats. And it could have an effect of that seat turning Republican, which if that's what the voters want, that's one thing. But they're forcing the voters into these districts. And so they're picking their voters. And then the voters that have lived there for years and have voted, for Democrats in those seats no longer have a voice.
Yeah. And that is sad because you just said it. These are people who not only felt that they had a voice, they had a voice. They're in the 18th district, as you were speaking about, they had Sheila Jackson Lee, who represented them quite well. She passed away. And then they had Sylvester Turner, who only had a short time, but would have represented them well. And he passed away as well. Now we don't know what's going to happen.
That's correct. And, we're going to have the special election this fall for the 18th. And then if this redistricting takes place, that entire district is going to change for the the actual election that will take place in November of 26.
Now, what you have some options. You have some thoughts as to what really needs to be done. First of all, I think one of the things that you see is you're probably not seeing the urgency of what Governor Abbott is about to do. You don't see that urgency neither locally or nationally. Am I correct with that sentiment?
I totally believe that. I mean, I don't mean to be hyperbolic or anything, but the house is on fire. With this type of thing. The president is concerned that the midterms are going to be very bad for him, and he wants to keep control of the House with Speaker Johnson. And so these are easy targets for them because they got a complicit governor in the state of Texas, plus a Republican-controlled legislature.
Now, interestingly, before we go into some of the solutions that you spoke about, it's not only in Texas that they're attempting to do this, but they're also attempting to do this in Ohio and other places, which really will. Well, I'll be honest with you, and you tell me if you agree or not. But I think you can get a little bit too cute, and sometimes districts that you think are very safe based on what and I don't want to only talk demographics, but what the values of the people were in that district all about. It could come back and burn you, couldn't it?
It could, absolutely. And so, that's one thing for them to consider when they start redrawing these districts. What will the voters actually say? Because we can see right now that there's a lot of pushback on these things that are coming out of the federal government, driven by Trump and those folks that he's appointed. And the American citizens seems to be, by large, don't support it. I mean, look at the people that are protesting day in and day out. I mean, we have several friends that are on the streets all the time, using their voice. And so it could come back to bite them here in Texas, but it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, because a lot of districts, the Republican districts that they may think are so safe that they can throw some more Democrats in there, they may get a surprise when other folks in that district wake up. Now, as far as support for what really needs to be done, you have some ideas because, as it turns out, money plays a role, not necessarily the only role, but money plays a role. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, there's always money in politics. And, right now, the Democrats are in a minority in the Texas legislature. And so the votes aren't there to say no. And I think we need to use all the tools that we have in the toolbox to put a stop to this redistricting. And so there's different ways of doing it. Our Democrats have proven before that, maybe if you don't show up and they don't have a quorum, they can't get anything done. And so that's one of the tools. There's other tools. One thing that I think we should be very cautious about is just watering down a little bit what they do. It's a bad bill, still a bad bill. And, when it comes time to run again in 26, you can't say, well, I only made it a little bit better, as opposed to, I put skin in it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I think that means a lot to the people. Because,
when Democrats believe in institutions, Democrats usually stand up for institution and act the way the institution was the original intent of the institutions. As we saw with Cory Booker yesterday, they went against all their committee rules to push that vote through. They didn't give any opportunity to the other side, which the other side by rules could have should have been given the opportunity to do. They break the rules, but we always seem to not want to bend it a bit. So what should we do, John?
I honestly think at this point in time, just because we're in the minority and have no way to stop whatever the governor wants to do this time around, I think our Democratic friends in the Texas legislature should break quorum and leave the state for the special session, and then they can't have the vote.
I agree wholeheartedly. Now, before you talk numbers, you told me that you've spoken to a few folk, maybe a few people in the legislature. We won't call any names out or anything like that, but that actually told you they would love to do that, but there's a reason why at this point they can't.
One of the things that will factor into it, one is we like to try to play by the rules and, get stuff done for our constituents, but it's expensive to leave the state. Many of our state representatives, work other jobs because the state legislature job's not a full-time deal. And so they have responsibilities, businesses and things that they need to run. But it's also expensive to get on an airplane and fly out of state and then stay in a hotel for, how long do they going to have to stay out?
Right.
And, the costs are add up really, really fast. And so it's not economically feasible to be able to do that. And so I honestly think that, if our DNC, the folks at the top of the Democratic National Committee and the leadership, they need to figure out a way to help these folks stop this gerrymander in the mid-season and help them break the quorum. And it'll cost money, but they need the help.
Let me ask you this, based on the context that you have, do you think there are enough Democrats? How many Democrats would have to be out to break the quorum?
I honestly don't have that number in front of me.
Will it be all of them or just as some of them? I don't quite remember myself.
Yeah, I think it's a good majority of them because if you remember when they did it the last time, that it only took a handful of Democrats coming back and then they had quorum.
Right.
And so it's a pretty much almost all or nothing. Yeah.
Well, interestingly, I think you had some suggestions as far as, look, it's going to be expensive, but if we believe what we're saying, which we know it's a fact, which we do believe that these are existential times, then the money is there in the coffers of many safe Democrats. The money is there, and if they want to ensure that their viability as a governing body remains in the House, that it's done, what should they do? Give me your thoughts.
I think they need to put up, and they need to put the money up to help our legislatures leave and break quorum. Like the DNC right now has $15 million in their coffers based on what Open Secrets is saying. That seems like a lot of money. But, in the grand scheme of things of politics and campaigns, it's not a whole lot. But one of the things that's interesting about that is we have two leaders, minority leaders, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Together, those two legislators have $13 million in their coffers. And I understand they need to run a campaign and stuff when it's their time to be elected. But it just shows that there's money out there. If they want to keep their seat or be the new majority leader, maybe they need to help out a little bit.
They need to invest. And, I think a lot of times because Texas is considered a red state, it's not, folks. Texas is not a red state. It's a non-voting state. But because they look at Texas as a red state, they don't want to invest. But they come from money. And also, they do need the Democrats that come out of Texas. They do need them. And if they can get a couple more or the status quo in Texas, it helps reduce what they have to get in New York or get in California or other places where they need to pick up seats to hold the majority. So I cannot see. Let me tell you, John, for me, what I find very frustrating is millions of dollars is a lot of money for me. It's a lot of dollars for you. Okay. But for what these guys represent, for the corporations that donate to these guys, if they really had a vested interest in doing this, it seems like they can raise the money, even if they don't immediately have it in their coffers, that they could direct certain people to, look, we need support in Texas, don't you think?
Absolutely. Whenever there's a fire and they need to put it out, there's money that shows up to help from various donors, across the country. And this is one of those cases that I think they could go find the money if they wanted to do it. Now,
do you think the will is there based on the people that you're talking to right now? If the money shows up to say, we'll be able to put you guys up for 30 days, for 60 days, do you think the will is there to do it?
I think a vast majority it would be. I heard one of our House district reps they were at a round table talking to a local Democratic club this week. And this person said, we're putting it on the line. We will possibly or probably get arrested this session. And it gives us hope that you guys have our back. She was talking to supporters in this group, and there was probably a couple hundred people in the room. And it's eye-opening, it's shocking, and maybe a little bit scary because they know that they could be arrested, to do their job representing their constituents. But so I think there's will there.
Well, I sure think we ought to put the pressure on. I think, John, by you speaking out on this issue, it is so important. Give me a closer. What do you want to tell not just our audience, but the politicians out there in Texas and specifically around the country that have a vested interest in our redistricting?
I think the past 6 months proved to us that we have to pull out all the stops. And this is just one of them, is to protect these seats. And I hope and want our representatives across the country to see how important this is in Texas and get on board and help us out.
John Cotter, president of the Humble Area Democrats and an activist in town. I don't know if you like to call yourself an activist, but I call you an activist because, you get a lot of work done and you bring a lot of people together. Thank you for all the work that you do. And thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thanks, Egberto. It's an honor to be here with you.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Yes, redistricting in Texas has national implications. Redistricting in Ohio has national implications. We ought to be figuring out what we're going to do to prevent Abbott from being able to steal. They know how to steal Supreme Court justices. Now we're talking about stealing districts. But what can I say? All right, let's see what we got here. Welcome aboard, Amber. Welcome aboard. Let's see. Harry Denson from Missouri City. Welcome aboard, Mafa Halim, Peggy Cyrus, Nancy Fagans, and Kidreed 2025. Thank you for being here. Hirut Kidane. Marianne, welcome aboard. James Ventura, Loretta Viner, welcome aboard. Thank you for being here, guys. All right, let's see. Carl Cox says CBS caved into Trump because CBS won't worship Trump. They cowardly democracy. Yes, Trump, MAGA dictatorship. No. And it's funny. Colbert got canned. And anybody who doesn't think it's because Colbert spoke up, they don't get it. And when let me back up. Look, I'm probably going to write something about this weekend. But all the signs are there, right? All these news organizations are paying up to Trump. And now we have, after CBS paid up and Colbert complained, 3 days later, not only is his show gone, but the night shows are gone. On CBS, gone completely. I wonder why. Because that is where we normally get some funny but critical, pushback on the political system. And just maybe we don't want that anymore. But they're caving. The mainstream media, folks, the mainstream media has officially caved to Donald Trump. So you are not going to get information as complete as you should anymore. You won't. And this is self-serving, but it's so true. This is why what we do, those of us that are doing this independent media thing, is more important than ever now. And being able to use a platform that won't kick you off for what you say, like Substack, is also very important. When I look at the media landscape, I get many a times quite upset because I watch what they do at MSNBC and these different networks. And I watch how these good reporters have to go up right to the edge and stop. They go up right to the edge. And, I've spoken to Ali Velshi a couple of times when I interviewed him for his book as well. And what you see is the good reporters, they try to get the message out in manners that a lot of folks, to some extent, they go over their heads, but others, it just works. But they can't get the entire job done. Folks, independent media now more than ever is needed. And I know while it's self-serving for me to say that, it is true. So that's why when we ask you to please become paid subscribers, man, it is really so important because we can't allow this system to just die. All right, let me give the next story that I want to cover. The next story that I want to cover is the terrible development. Trump admin restricts state efforts to help kids stay on Medicaid. I was on an interview with Kabuch, I think is a few minutes ago, just before the show. And he said, they want to throw the kids off of Medicaid after a year. I'm like, really? I said, I did some research on the bill, but I never asked ChatGPT that particular question as far as, so I didn't know. I just didn't know. And here it is. He said, well, it just came out today. Here's the deal. The Trump administration on Thursday said it will restrict waivers that have allowed states to keep kids enrolled in Medicaid or the Children's Health Insurance Program beyond the 12-month period of continuous coverage required by federal law. The Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services, led by Mehmet Oz, announced a move on Thursday, saying that it has informed states of a clear shift away from policies that extend beyond statutory limits, specifically restricting Section 1115 waivers that have been sought and approved in dozens of states across the U.S. CMS will allow currently approved initiatives to run out their course, but does not anticipate extending them or approving new waivers. The agency said in a statement, which came less than 2 weeks after President Donald Trump signed the law, the largest Medicaid cut into history. Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, the top Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee, called the CMS announcement a terrible development and yet one more awful example of the Trump administration's obsession with making it as hard as possible for Americans to access the health care they are eligible for. In 2022, Oregon became the first state in the nation to receive federal approval to provide children with continuous Medicaid coverage from birth up to age 6 through a Section 115 waiver. The policy was described as a groundbreaking initiative that would help infants and young children get off a healthy start in life without parenting having to worry about renewing their medical coverage annually, regardless of temporary changes to the family's income or other factors. The CMS announced points to the Oregon policy without explicitly naming the state of Oregon's federal waiver. Wyden said Thursday that the Trump administration will stop at nothing to rip coverage away from Americans, families, even kids they claim they want to protect. Joanne Alker, executive director of Georgetown University Center for Children and Families, wrote that in the name of protecting vulnerable Americans, the Trump administration will rip away Medicaid coverage for babies. Look, the evil just continues, man. The evil just continues. You have to ask yourself, and I know I asked it yesterday and say, yeah, this is who we are. The next question is this who we want to be? Okay, this is who we are. Is it who we want to be? And there's a solution to be who we want to be, folks. And that is we have to be the ones leading. We have to be the ones leading. So I am not disillusioned. You shouldn't be. You just should know we have a lot of work to do. And that work began yesterday, the day before. We got work to do. All right, I have one last video to play, and this one is about the Epstein case. I told you guys I was not going to write anything about the Epstein story, and I think I fulfilled my promise here. What I did write about is the Epstein thing being a front. But let me go ahead and play that, and then we'll take it on the other side. I think I have it queued up. Let's see. I think so. Democrats walked out of the Judiciary Committee today, and justifiably so. War erupted as they refused to allow people who would speak up about wrong video. Here it comes. I'm sorry about that, guys. Let me be clear. I continue to contend that this big holdup about this big rush up that we have right now with Jeffrey Epstein and release all the documents. Let me tell you, while I am happy to see some fire under Donald Trump, I want us to stay focused on what the problem really is. The transfer of wealth of the middle class and the poor to the wealthy, the plutocracy, the oligarchy taking advantage of us all, and the autocracy that's being created in the presidency, sanctioned by a Republican Congress and a conservative Supreme, or I should say, a MAGA Supreme Court. But let me tell you what I see here. When you see Nick Fuentes, yes, anti-Semite, but a Trump lover, a Trump supporter, one of the leaders in the MAGA movement, has this to say, there is something here. And I'll expand on this after you hear Nick Fuentes via Lawrence O'Donnell. Check this out.
Here's the way it was going for Donald Trump among his previously fanatical supporters before the Wall Street Journal's reporting tonight. Here's a well-known anti-Semitic, Holocaust-denying Trump supporter who had dinner with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago once, today reacting to what Donald Trump said about supporters like this guy yesterday when Donald Trump said, I don't want their support anymore, and he called them all all, including Tucker Carlson and this guy, weaklings.
And now he says, if you're not on board with the Epstein cover-up, I don't want your support. You're a weakling. You suck. You are fat. You are a joke. You are stupid. You are not funny. You are not as smart as you think you are. And honestly, and if you watch my show, I've been very critical. I've never been this far. This just goes to show this entire thing has been a scam. When we look back on the history of populism in America, we are going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history. And the liberals were right. The MAGA supporters were had. They were. When we look back in history, we will see Trump as a scam artist.
The MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history. The liberals were right. We never had reason to expect to hear those words from fanatical Trump supporters. I didn't expect to hear those words last night from fanatical Trump supporters. That's how fast this is moving. We never, ever had reason to come close to expecting to hear anything like that until Jeffrey Epstein, in effect, rose from the grave to separate Donald Trump from those fanatical supporters.
All right, let's get this right. It seems at this point that there is a concerted effort to screw Donald Trump. I mean, I hate to put it that way. I mean, today it comes out about him having a health issue. That they're actually, we know about his swollen ankles and all kinds of stuff for some time now. We allowed the media to put a whole lot about Biden's health condition and mental acuity, etc., when we always knew Donald Trump was a nutcase and Donald Trump was overweight and likely not in very good health. But somehow the mainstream media allowed that to slide as Donald Trump continued to push the issue about Joe Biden. But here's the kicker, right? We always knew that while we put all these blames on Donald Trump as being an evil person, etc., we always understood that Donald Trump was just the face. Donald Trump was just the instantiation of something that has been occurring in this country to some would say since its inception, but on steroids since Ronald Reagan. Yes, we have made strides for the middle class and the poor and minorities, etc. Yes, we have made strides, but there has always been that boat anchor that ensures that the strides the many make would never, ever, ever put a threat on the plutocracy. And with Trump, we're seeing that as well. We are in what's known as end state capitalism or end stage capitalism. And that is where this system has taken away as much as it could or taken away as much as it could from the vast majority of people, the people that they pretty much consider disposable. And now it has to continue growing, and it has to continue growing faster than everything else, right? That is how it's defined. That is a mathematical formula that governs this economic system. And in order for it to continue, we have to create those distractions and those fights and those hates, etc., among people. And Donald Trump was an excellent conduit. But anybody who's watched Donald Trump over the last few months have seen that he's gone from an irrational, crazy person to one that is maybe getting out of control, and it's starting to mess with the pocketbooks of the plutocracy now. They want a level of chaos, but they just want the level of chaos in such a manner that people don't understand that they are being screwed by the plutocracy and not by the other or each other. But Donald Trump may have been getting out of control for the puppeteers. And you know what? When that starts to occur, they take you out in some form or the other. And I am watching closely because, like I said, the Jeffrey Epstein story doesn't do much for me. After all, the man, Donald Trump, is a person who's openly speak about grabbing on to women's private parts. He's been convicted. He has no soul. we know he just about launders. I mean, the guy is just an evil being, and the hate and the isms in America still found it fit to put him into office. So the Epstein doesn't mean much to me, really. And it still doesn't, right? Because I don't think there's anything in those files that would make me feel any worse about Donald Trump as I do now. He's a despicable person. And whether he's also a pedophile or not, I don't know what lower level of despicability that would take him. I don't know. And not only that, I still think people would support him. But what people eventually may turn on is when they feel, especially his base, when they finally wake up to the point and say, wow, he deceived us. I don't know if you remember several blogs ago, I said, my biggest fear is what happens when MAGA wakes up. And the question is MAGA waking up? Again, I don't care about Jeffrey Epstein or the papers or any of that. What I care about is whatever incident, is it waking up MAGA? And what will the consequence be? Will it suffice for them to just rid themselves of Trump? Because after all, JD is waiting in the wings, and JD is a lot smarter and a lot worse than Trump could ever be. You know, we are in trying times, people. What I'm going to tell you all, we got to keep our eye on the ball. We have to find politicians ready to serve, ready to repeal all the evil done by Donald Trump during his administration, and start supporting Americans, the working class again. But we are in troubled times. Yes, we are in troubled times. And look, Missy Babe, beautiful, where have you been? We haven't heard from you either at KPFT or here on the program. There are a couple of times I thought about you and I said, let me give Missy a call and see how Missy's doing. And you know how it goes when you're overworked. What happens a lot of times. So great to see you here, beautiful. How you been? All right. Let's see what we've got here. Patrick Magnus says, we got this president because you only get information that the ad space allows. That is a good point. That's a good point. If a topic does not maximize ad price, it won't get covered. That is so important. You know, people used to ask, why do I make some of my headlines clickbait? And I would say, I don't. If somebody clicks it, I am happy. I don't lie, but I want people to click it. I want to make it that they want to click it. And the good thing about it is they can click it for the sake of clickability. But the thing about it is those of us, there are some people who that's their sole. Well, I think Patrick did a good job of it. Missy Bay says here in Texas, they want to eliminate the 18th district and others. Yep. In fact, they want to eliminate the 18th, the 14th, and a couple of others. And they're all districts held by people of color. In fact, that is what John Cotter was talking about in the first interview that I did today. Hirut Kiren Marianne, she says, maybe you reaching out to them is working. Look, I believe in reaching out, and yeah, reaching out works. And not all the time, but it works. It works. I saw somebody else in the chat that I hadn't seen in a while, but I'm scrolling down, scrolling past, scrolling. You know what? Anyhow, that's the way it goes. All right, folks, we are at 53 right now. I think I'm going to have the Ask Egberto. Well, it's not Ask Egberto anymore. It's the program that we have on the weekends for our paid subscribers. The last 2 weeks, the first week I accidentally opened up to everybody. Last week I purposefully opened it up to everybody. This week I'm not sure what I am going to do quite yet. Because I want to get, we had a fairly good crowd, I think either last Sunday or the Sunday before. I want to get a crowd to encourage more of our people to become subscribers. So I'm going to paid subscribers, that is. So I'm not sure how I'm going to arrange that yet. But paid subscribers, you guys know that you have all those books online, and you get those few special features from us as well. So there's still some special nooks for you until I close the Sunday again. I hate doing that. But what we got to do is again let you know that you paid subscribers can call in to the program directly at any time. Then again, everybody can. All right, folks. The time is 3:54. I think I can take a couple calls. Anybody want to call in? A minute a piece or so. Give me a call. 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. You have something to say. You have something to critique. You have something to compliment. You have something constructive criticism, destructive criticism. Give me a call. 281-823-7747. We got about 4 minutes. So give me a call. Una vez más. 281-823-7747. I'll put it in the chat. I should have done that in the first place. 281-823-7747. There we go. That's it in the chat. And, at some time, I am going to invest in a tool that allows you, because a lot of you listen on a computer, right? If you want to say something, maybe push a button and say it. My bold brother, Ray Brackens, how you doing? And Patrick Magner. Hold on, Ray. Let me get Patrick on as well. Hey, Patrick, I think you're calling the wrong number. You have to call the call-in number. Anyway, what's up, Ray?
What's up, Egberto? Top of Friday to you. I wish you didn't have so much bad news, but hearing that MAGA. Oh,
hold on a second. Let me get this. Let's tie the call in with Patrick. Okay, I think Patrick is tied in now. Patrick, are you there as well?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, go ahead. Ray.
Hearing the MAGA bros on the podcast, literally, tell Trump he can F off. That's like music to my ears because they've been riding his jock for so long. It'll be a wonder to see how it actually influences the people who he used to actually get into power. And I'm still not holding on, and I'm still not letting go of the fact that Greg Palast is an excellent investigator. And there's also clips floating around online of Trump actually saying, if it wasn't for Elon, he wouldn't have won. So, there's that. But, is Wagner waking up? We shall see.
Well, we'll see. The thing about it is we keep talking, but here's the deal. I want to see what Nick Fuentes says in the next couple of days. I really want to see if he stays with that because you know what they do. They get this big macho and then they turn right back into paper tigers. So we'll see what happens with Nick Fuentes.
Yeah.
Let me hear what Patrick. Stay on the line, Ray. Let's see what Patrick has to say before we get off as well. Patrick.
Off the topic of politics, I was going to just say that maybe for the Sunday forum, you can start inviting one or two people that are non-members from your chat if they're interested in coming in. And then that increases the size of the group. And then it also gives somebody an opportunity to see if they'd like to continue in that group as a subscriber.
That's a good idea. I have to figure out what kind of not opportunities, what kind of tools I have to do that. I'm not like 100% versed in all of this yet, so I'll see if I can do that. That's a damn good idea, though. That's a damn good idea.
Yeah, you have to come up with a system on how to invite them and see who's interested. But that's all I have to contribute. And I'm going to try and get on Sunday. I don't know how to do it yet, but I'm going to figure it out.
Well, I mean, you just have to come on to Substack and you'll see us live there and you click on the live to get in. It's that easy.
Okay.
Thank you, my brother. Actually, you come in with your, actually, you can listen either online or you can listen on the phone. Now, if you're on the phone, I can actually bring you up. That may be a good thing. I'm going to try something for Sunday. Leave it open, and for those that are a subscriber, I can bring them they can be on screen. I'll think about it, but thank you very much for that, Brother Patrick. Hey, Ray, what else? Give me a closeout, Ray.
Hey, y'all, I'm about to do it. I'm about to make my announcement tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. I'm going to debut my live podcast, The Angry Corner.
Send me the link, brother. Send me the link, all right?
All right, brother. I'm going to do it.
Thank you, guys. Hey, guys, thank you very much. Okay, we got to close this baby down. Anyway, folks, first of all, I want to thank all of you that are here today. I want to thank all of you that's been coming to both the afternoon show, which is an internet show on all the different platforms, as well as the morning show, which is live on air at KPFT 90.1 FM. The It's a lively show in the mornings with the people calling in, etc. I think you would love it, to check it out. But anyhow, folks, please support the program however best you can. What we are asking folks to do is those who have the wherewithal to do so, to remember that independent media is what's going to make the difference. Colbert is gone. He spoke out about a $16 million payment or some amount of millions that CBS made to Trump. And what happened? They canceled not only his program, but they canceled the night show. That is how authoritarianism gets hold. It's a piece at a time, We are going nowhere because we are owed to nobody. We are owed to nobody. So there are a lot of folks that are, I know you get tired of hearing people say, support me, support me, support me, support me, that kind of stuff. And for folks doing this kind of work, what I ask you to do, and I honestly mean this, look at the work being done. Please. There are a lot of, in fact, some of the people who got laid off from the big stations that are now here on Substack Live. They are, to write a comment, you got to pay. To see their blogs, you got to pay. And you read their blogs, and I ask you to do this sincerely. Please read their blogs if you're a paid subscriber of these guys, and please read what we do here. Read the corroboration, etc., because a lot of times notoriety, we subscribe to notoriety. And a lot of these good people, good reporters that came down with golden parachutes, $1 million parachutes, and continued here on Substack and got 10,000 subscribers, paid subscribers on day one, without showing what they're going to bring. While we have many here that's been doing the work, really trying very hard. I ask all of you that are watching, look at the work. Our work is not just what we do here. Please look at the entire body of work and see if you think we are deserving of your support, especially in these times. So I ask you to please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and subscribe. Be a paid subscriber. It makes a difference, and it's minimal, but it makes a difference. I got to get out of here. I got to go get some more work done. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.